that I have to wait because he counts down, right? Our executive producer counts down,
Okay.
or our technical producer counts down, and then the show starts 15 seconds after
After the countdown.
after the countdown. I can barely hear you.
Me? Should I
Yeah.
turn? Should I just sit closer to my thing? The hell.
Yeah, I just wanted more of your face. Hello everybody, and welcome to a new episode of Limited Time Only. I'm your host Spencer, and I'm joined by my co-host, a man that if he doesn't hit silver this weekend, will probably quit Magic.
Cry? No, I won't quit. Disheartened? Maybe a little bit, but I'll get there. We'll get there.
I mean, you got the nice mustache going for you right now. You got a nice haircut. Like, you are ready to win. You look fresh, man.
Ready. I'm ready.
Yeah.
And
X2 qualifies you for 3 Pro Tours.
Next 2? An X2 would be sweet. That would be really good.
You would qualify you for Pro Tour Kyoto with a silver invite, Pro Tour Ixalan with an X2 invite, and
a silver invite next year.
A silver invite floating next year. So if you X2 any of these GPs, Danny, you get 3 invites.
That's true. And I have 3 chances.
That's true. So basically if you don't do it, you're a loser.
I would go with that. That makes a valid point.
Well, this week we are going to be talking to you guys about one of our favorite things in the world, and that is preparing for tournaments. We have some tournaments coming up, and it's something that we wanted to kind of convey on the show. It's like, how do you prepare for a large limited event? And we kind of want to talk to you about our process and what we try to do for that. So before we do that, don't forget to check out our Patreon at patreon.com/ccmtg. You can become a patron of this show and everything on our network. $1 more per month, anything that you see fit is really appreciated. And we can't believe the support that we already get. But if every person just donated $1 or more per month, that would make it so that Danny and Michael and I could quit our jobs and just play Magic full time. Just go out there and play Magic. It would be really cool.
I would definitely get silver if that.
Yeah, exactly. So check that out at patreon.com. We really appreciate everything that we currently get, and anything that we get in the future just means the world to us. So you can also check out our sponsors at both GameGrid and the Mana Base. You can go to play@gamegrid.com to check out a game grid near you, and you can go to the Mana Base to find awesome Magic content, including Nikachu, who is that modern Merfolk player, the top 8 in Modern GP recently. He's going to be at GP Las Vegas, so go and say hi to him. And you can check out tons of other content at the Mana Base. So check out both of our sponsors. We really appreciate GameGrid. Danny just got paid $220 by them that went directly into Michael Hinderacker's account, and
Sure.
And they paid for these guys for the place that they stayed in Ireland. So it's just really cool store. If there's one near you, check them out at play@gamegrid.com. They are well worth the visit. So, all right, let's go right into the show. So every week on the show, we want to talk about the things that we believe have been moved the most, in our opinion. What has changed? Like, what is something that is different for you than it was last week? What's gone up or down in your pick order, or just your overall opinion of these cards? So we're still in Amonkhet. Danny, what is your biggest mover up this week?
So as the formats go on, I generally find myself drafting more blue decks. I feel like blue is kind of like, it's generally a more dirtily color, and the more I draft a format, the more dirtily I want to try to be. And one of the cards that's been really, really helpful in facilitating those decks is Essence Scatter. I actually think that card's just great in Limited. Like, really, really good. Probably 70 to 80% of your opponent's spells are going to be creatures. And so it's a 2-mana spell that counters the majority of your opponent's spells. And, like, it gets most of their bombs. I can't think of very many bombs in the format that aren't creatures. And so it's just been really performing well for me. It fits into the curve pretty nicely. You can double spell earlier with it. It's a good card. It's been great.
Cool. What's your biggest mover down?
Down is, so this isn't draft specifically. the cycle lands, I was kind of taking them probably a little higher than I should have. Just kind of valuing the ability to have one of my lands be a cycler, so that I can, if I do flood out, I can cycle it away instead. So like they definitely are good cards, but I found myself just kind of passing over them to just try to take more playable cards. I think there's lots of good sideboard cards in this format, especially if you're in blue. There's cards that might not be good in every matchup, but that you definitely want access to. Like Illusory Wrappings is a great example of it. It's a card that's not that great, but if you're playing against the green deck, then having multiple copies of that card is really powerful. And so I've been finding myself taking a card like that over a cycle land that I might have taken.
Okay, cool. So for me, I'm sad to say I think I'm officially done with Amonkhet. While I enjoyed the format, I just don't think I'll do any more Amonkhet drafts. Sorry, Utah is really dry right now, and I have really bad dry throat, so I'm trying to drink some water to not like cough like crazy on the podcast. So I'm really sorry. But anyway, so I think I'm kind of done with this set, but I do have some cards that I have some that I do have some changes on. One of them is Oketra's Attendant. Now this might be one that you're like, how could this card have possibly moved? Or you could be on the camp of this card's 5 mana. How could you possibly play it? And I think that the fact that those two camps exist is kind of crazy. I think Oketra's Attendant is like probably one of the best uncommons in the set.
It's very strong.
And I'm not sure why I'm getting past them. So this card has moved up for me because I've gotten to play more of it lately, and it is a little bit better than I had been rating it the last couple of weeks. Not that it was, not that I ever rated low, but I just think that people see, what am I missing?
So what might be happening is like white is a really good color. So I wonder if people are just taking Gust Walkers and Fan Bears over Oketra's Attendant, and so you might be getting it. I mean, maybe, but Gust Walker is really good.
Gust Walker is really good. I don't know. If I was presented with that pick, I would have a hard time. But like, Oketra's Attendant is like better than Cast Out.
Yeah. I mean, it depends on your deck, but yeah, probably.
I don't quite understand it. Pretty big fan of the card. I would say stop taking like, weird other cards over this card. It's one of the best uncommons in the set. So my biggest move down is no surprise. So we haven't done the podcast in 2 weeks, and I've been wanting to talk about this card for 2 weeks. Danny.
My bad. Might be. Public Transit is great. I love it.
But yeah, Splendid Agony has kind of moved down for me. I don't even think the card is good. Like, it's so funny because like people are like, "Oh man, did you see that sick blowout I got with that Splendid Agony?" And I was like, "Yeah, that was great." Like, I don't know.
A lot of the cards that you would generally get 2-for-1s on, you don't even get them in this format. So like, Fanbear and Naga Vitalist are like potential cards that like in other sets that card would have 1 toughness and you would be able to get a 2-for-1 on it, but both of those cards just have 2 toughness, so you can't even get a 2-for-1. And
then like there's cards like Gust Walker, so like you put the counter on Gust Walker and then they just exert it every time they attack with it.
Yeah, so you're not,
or they like kill the Gust Walker and then they spent 3 mana to kill your 2 mana threat. Like I just don't get it.
You have to like set up these really elaborate things. So you're hoping to like
all of them involve Netcrop and Tangler.
Yeah, pretty much you're just trying to kill a Netcrop and Tangler, or fancy blocks, and also get a -1/-1 counter.
Yeah, I thought this card would be a little bit better than it is. We haven't. I mean, we haven't talked in a couple weeks on the show, but it's just moved down for me.
So it's just a little slow. Like, I don't know. It doesn't do a lot for how much you're paying compared to other cards.
Sure. Yeah, so that's kind of our biggest movers this week. Let's move on to our next segment, which is Color of the Week. So every week on the show, we want to talk about a color in the format, both talk about it a little bit in draft, a little bit in sealed, and kind of just what we think about it. This week, we're going to talk about green. So Danny, what is your overall opinion of green right now?
It's in an interesting spot. So I personally thought coming into the format that it'd be one of the better colors. And I think the going opinion is that it's one of the worst colors. Like, I think most people have it as like blue and green are the worst. And I think that's warranted. I don't know, green is kind of split. Like, some of the cards just don't function well together, and so some of the green decks just come out a little awkward. And there's not a good aggro green deck, and so when people talk about this format being really aggressive, there's not a great green deck that participates in that. Like, green white is the biggest one that could be really aggressive, but then I don't know. So I think that's the biggest problem with green is that it doesn't have a clear theme, and so it doesn't turn into a good deck as often as some of the other ones do, like white and red.
My last two 3-0s are actually both with green decks.
Mm-hmm. I don't think that it's the worst. Like, I think I like green better than black, and I think that white and red are overdrafted, and so I find myself drafting green a lot just because it's more open.
I do too.
Than it should be.
Yeah, my last two drafts were that I 3-0'd were green red and green white, and honestly, I don't see it. Like, the 2/2 for 2 that gets Death Touch.
Yeah, Bitterblade Warrior.
Yeah, it's quite good. The fight cards are quite good. I mean, like, obviously we're not in the Colossopede format that we thought we would be, but like, you can still build your deck to make it a Colossopede format.
I do think that Cartouche of Strength has gotten a lot worse. I think it's one of those cards that people learn to play around it. So I had a spot in the Last Chance qualifier that I could have taken a strange line to play around Cartouche of Strength, and I think that if I would have like maybe had like a little more practice, I would have taken like the really unintuitive line to like play really hard around Cartouche of Strength. And like, as more people learn about that, I've found myself with Cartouche of Strengths in my hand that don't do as much as they were in the past. Like, that's one card that's been harder to use just because people get better, but I think overall the color is still strong. Like, it has good cards. Like, Hooded Brawler is really strong. Colossopede is a powerful card. Like, it's not the best format for it right now, but 5-mana 5/5 is really big. 2-mana.
What colors are you looking to pair with?
I think green black has the highest upside. There's some like you can get some crazy payoffs for green black.
Yeah.
But green red and green white generally come together more often just because those like white and red are so deep, and you can get like really, really good cards. And so they kind of support. You can have like really open green and then just open some really good white and red cards, and you write white or red cards and make a good deck.
Yeah, I've overall been impressed with those 3 color combinations specifically. I know that a lot of people in Sealed really like the blue-green decks, and I think that deck is really good in Sealed, the blue-green 4-color deck. I typically am still 3 colors, but I think that like maybe I'll splash like an Electrify and like NB Bug or something like that, so that happens. But I think that those 3 color combinations are really all fine. Well, blue-green is probably not where you want to be in draft.
Yeah, no, blue-green, it has 2 different themes that I've seen. So like Weaver of Currents shows that it wants to ramp, but then it also has like this Slitherblade, the uncommon. You can I've seen some people try to do that, and that is like really bad. And so the deck's kind of.
Are you people? That sounds like a Danny Cathro deck.
Some people have drafted some Slitherblades, and then maybe 3 of the enchantment that when you deal damage, it draws a card.
That's Sammy Mathro.
Yeah, some people had a lot of fun in that draft.
No, I think that kind of covers green really well. I think that the notable comments are kind of some of the things that you mentioned: the Bitterblade Warrior, the Colossopede. I think that
Naga-Vitalist is big.
Yeah, Naga-Vitalist, Cartouche of Strength. The uncommons, I think that the green trial was a little bit worse than I thought it would be.
I thought it would be one of the better trials, and then it's just a little clunky.
It's really good if you're using red Cartouche.
Yes.
But I think that in the other color combinations, so in green black specifically, right? Like, I don't know the black cartouche, because they both cost 3 mana, isn't really where I want to be. Where if I play red or white, I can actually play the green cartouche, play the red, play the green trial, play red cartouche, bounce it back, play green cartouche in the same turn. And I think that green black, while is the best color combination, isn't where I want my trials. I really want those trials in green white and red white, or red green. And also those cartouches are pretty easy to get still, even though people like them. Like, they're still relatively easy at comment at it to pick up.
A lot easier than Cartouche String, for sure.
And a lot easier than Cartouche of Ambition, yeah.
Yep, it's true. Those are like premium commons in their colors, whereas Cartouche Zeal and Cartouche Solidarity are in much deeper colors, so that they're just like not. There's just more good cards in those colors, so those aren't high picks as opposed to black and green.
Yeah, so that is it for green this week. Where do you think that the color stands overall? Like, you kind of talked about that a little bit. I think it's a little bit underrated. I think that it's a deck that you'll end up in because of how people are fighting over other colors right now. It sounds like you're under the same opinion.
Yeah, I think it's like the third best, but if it's open, it's like you can have a lot of success. So
awesome. Oh, look at this! Look at this! People are excited. Yeah, we're doing 2 streams in a row. That's us. We got Vegas coming up, guys. We gotta
get ready.
We gotta go. Also, if we didn't do it, I don't think that we would have done it
on Thursday. Yeah, it's. I'm kind of worried how 3 GPs in a row is going to go. That'll be taxing.
I'm currently only registered for Legacy, but I'm bringing a Modern deck.
Okay, yeah. So I'm bringing both. I'm only registered for Legacy, but I think I'm going to do that tonight. I'll figure out what I'm going to do.
So, well, let's move on to our training grounds. Every week on the show, we want to talk about something that's going to make you better at Magic or life in general. And this week is something that could help you in outside of life if you kind of apply some of the thinking to other things. I know that it's helped me in my life. And we want to talk about preparing for a limited event. So, Danny and I have both we're both fortunate enough to do well in limited at the Pro Tours that we've played in, and we also both I think I've day 2'd every limited GP I've played in. I think you've done the same.
Yeah, maybe my first one. I played in Modern Masters 2 years ago.
I'm sorry. I wasn't counting the Modern Masters GPs. I did not day 2. I think either of them. But to be fair, I wasn't really trying.
Yeah, I had played for about a month, so I wasn't that great yet. But since then, I've done really well at limited GPs. So
I had things that I wanted to do. That's actually one of the reasons that I'm not currently registered for anything outside of Legacy, because it means that I can still have a full Vegas experience and play in a GP. So I just don't know where I'm at with that. I know I want to play in the Legacy one and do well. But outside of the Modern Masters limited GPs, we've done relatively well. And I think that prep has a lot to do with that. I think that if you don't actually prep for limited events of that size, it can be a real challenge for you. And I think that something that Danny's noticed since getting onto the testing team is just the amount of prep that you do for a Pro Tour and stuff like that, or even with just your friends, actually really helps you in different things like sealed PPTQs and stuff like that. And there's a lot that goes into that before the set ever comes out. So we're going to get into that probably in Age of the Format and kind of what we do during different ages of the format. Let's kind of start with sealed draft balance. So Danny, how early in the format do you start doing sealed deck?
I generally start with sealed deck just because I play a lot of pre-releases. So my friend and I kind of have a habit of going to 5 or 6 pre-release weekend. So it's just kind of something that we've had, something that we do. It's really fun. We camp out at the store one night sometimes. It's fun. And so I'll play 5 full 4 or 5 round sealed events the first weekend that we play. So I get a lot of sealed practice right at the beginning, which for me I think is really helpful because anytime you play a competitive event, it starts with sealed. So at a GP, day 1 is all sealed. And then same thing with a PPTQ. You play sealed, And then if you get to top 8, then you get to draft. And so, especially when you're starting to get into the competitive scene, like sealed is way more important than draft is, just because that's how you get into the upper echelons of a tournament. And so I generally start with sealed, and then I'll move into draft the next week, generally when it comes out on Magic Online.
Yeah, I completely agree. So, I will do 1v1 sealed with people on our testing team at nights all the time throughout a format, just to early on to try and understand what's going on and learn about the sealed format. I'm so sorry, guys. Utah is really dry right now. And I think that it gives you a lot of edges. There's a lot of times that you can apply card evaluations in sealed to limited more easily than you can do that limited to sealed, I find. Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. And I think that there's so many people that think that they can just go draft. Okay, I'm ready for this sealed PPDQ. And it's like, man, you're going to open this pool and have like, you're just going to be staring at like all of these cards and be like, what do I do? And it's going to be a rough experience for you.
For sure. I do think that there is a difference in how much time you need to invest in each one, though. So with sealed, I think there's more diminishing returns. So yes. the first few sealed pools that you do are very, very important. If you just look at a set list, you can't really, at least I can't convert that into how are my decks of those colors going to look. But once I do 5 sealed pools, I get a good idea of what a normal deck of a normal green deck might look like. What are like the commons that I'm going to get that I really need, or like how is this going to combine with different stuff? And so if you get a few sealed decks under your belt, you can be pretty safe switching to draft earlier, but you really need to get the first few in, or you're going to be at a really big disadvantage.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that, those first, for me, it's like, I'll do like 6 sealeds and like 15 drafts to like prepare, like to really start to understand limited, right? And I mean, it used to be like 10 drafts, but now that like Magic Online is so prevalent for drafters and early, like you have to do a little bit more prep to really keep that edge that you want to gain. So for me, that's about what my balance is. It's like, it's about 6 sealeds, I would say. I don't include pre-releases in this, by the way.
They're different competitiveness for sure. So like, yeah,
like doing sealeds with it is actually really good practice. I'm not even joking. Like, go with your friend, buy 24 booster packs, and go each make 2 sealed decks and just switch them between you guys and do a round robin event with all the sealed decks. Like, I promise you, it is worth it.
Yeah.
It is like actually really good. You get to talk about the builds as you build them together. Like, it is actually good.
Especially when a format's new, you would be very surprised how different opinions you'll have. Like, people that I respect that I think are about the same skill level as me will have very different opinions on certain cards. And I think sealed is the best way to do that, because in draft it's really easy to be like, oh, here's this difficult to evaluate card, or here's this removal spell. I'll take the removal spell. But in sealed, you have to be like, what's a good example? Like Into Wonder, the like blue X creatures get unblockable and draw a card for each when they deal combat damage. Like, that card is really hard to evaluate. I don't think it's very good, but like, if you are playing a sealed deck and you have that in your sealed pool, you're gonna think, hey, like, if I'm in blue, is this card playable? I don't know. And you have to think about all of these different situational cards and how they line up. And in draft, you can really avoid those situations for a long time just by taking the like general limited card. But sealed makes you think about them because you have to put in 23 playables and you start to get bad cards.
Yeah, let's talk really quick about the age of the format. So so those 6 sealeds and those 15 drafts, that's where I want to be before the Pro Tour. Like, this isn't where I want to be like you know, by the end of the format. Like, I want to have this under my belt and have like a real understanding before the Pro Tour even starts. And this is true for like probably before your second or third limited PPTQ, probably before your first PPTQ, you should have about, you know, 5-6 seals under your belt.
Mm-hmm. I think, yeah, that helped. Like, they're just so important, especially if you're going to go to a PPTQ that's sealed. Most people, the vast majority, have almost no prep. And so if you just do 5 sealeds, you're going to be so much advantage in deck building. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's you, and you'll build so much quicker. You'll understand. Yeah. It's like, it's such a huge help. And the other thing to think about is like, when you do that and you have all that time, you also saw the cards that you played against. You saw the cards that you know, the other cards in your pool. Like, you had to evaluate those cards, even though you didn't play with them. Like, you still had to think about them. There's just a lot that you get out of that. And then, you know, once you're there, right? Like, once you're past that point of the Pro Tour, that's when the edges start to be a little bit harder to gain. And that's when it's about, you know, like, talking about things, finding like the narrow margins, right? If you see a tough pick, ask your friends about it. You know, take a screenshot, share it in a Facebook group. Like, it's time to like really narrow in on what those edges are, and then kind of do what we do with your friends, right? Like, we do these biggest movers every week. That's something that you're going to want to be thinking about, right? Like, what are the trends right now in MTGO inside of draft, and how will that affect the way people build their seal pools? So, for example, people at the RPTQ were playing like hyper aggressive seal decks, and they were getting really punished for it.
Yeah, if your seal deck can do that, then that is effective. But if you're just trying to implement your draft strategy into your seal deck build, that's not going to work out for you. Like, not most seal decks can't be built hyper aggro. Like, every once in a while you'll have 5 good 2-drops, but not normally.
Yeah. So like a huge percentage of the field is just like at this disadvantage because they're not actually moving with the format, understanding like, oh, this seal format is actually not like this draft format. Even though people were trying that on MTGO, the decks were actually rising to the top. But this is what this deck typically looks like. Like, you have to get all of that information and move with the format in Limited, because Limited is very fluid. And, you know, once people see how good something like the White Trial is, you're going to start to see less trials, right? So early on in the format, people didn't realize how good Trial of what is it?
Solidarity, right?
Yeah, Trial of Solidarity was. So like, you could get like 3rd and 4th pick Trial of Solidarities, and you just be like, okay, well, I have 2 of these or 3 of these in my deck. Let's just get all these cartouches that nobody's taking, and you would just crush these drafts, right? And like, that won't happen if at like this late in the format. Like, you can't count on the first 15 drafts you did to get you through the draft at your PPTQ or your GP or your day 2 at a GP. At the end of the format. They're just different formats. The format is too fluid. You know, it might be closer to solved at the end, or at the beginning, like, you're in the process of solving it. And that's something that you have to remember and take into consideration as far as the age of the format goes.
Yeah. In general, the more work that you put into actually playing at the beginning, the better. So I front load my drafts at the beginning of a format. So I try to play as many sealed decks games and play as many drafts as I possibly can at the beginning. And then I do a lot of like research throughout the rest of the format, because you're kind of keeping up with the metagame, keeping up with what other people are doing. And that can get you through the rest of the format a lot, as you like also draft like not nearly as much, but keep drafting a little bit.
Yeah, you're not going to do another 15 drafts in 2 weeks very often, but like, but
I mean, if you have time and you want to, you can. But
yeah, but like, you'll do 2-3 drafts a week, and you know, you'll add on to your knowledge and go from there. What are some effective tips? We've kind of given a few of them already, but what are some effective tips that you can give to people about their limited testing to like make their limited testing more effective?
So the most effective resource that I use is articles by different pros and like the Channel Fireball team meetings when they go over limited cards. Like, those are really condensed, helpful resources that you can go to get kind of like a crash course on a format. So if you ever feel like you're behind on your prep for a format, those types of resources are much, much more beneficial than watching draft videos by people that you like. So draft videos are generally fun, but I don't find them nearly as effective in learning about the format as an article. Because limited is weird. So like draft especially, like every draft is just different and it plays out a little different, and you can learn so much more by reading an article of someone that's done 50 drafts than you can by watching one draft of that person. Just because they'll give you these big ideas that you can apply in all of these different situations, as opposed to, oh look, he drafted this blue red deck. And I think that is one of the biggest skills with limited in general, is being able to take general ideas when you meet a specific pick or a specific sealed deck build, and being able to apply these ideas that you've learned about the format and make the right decision. But you can't predict every situation that you'll find. And so you're kind of like trying to set yourself up for success by absorbing as much information as you can.
Yeah, I really like all of that. I would also like to add kind of just on the testing perspective, when one of the things that I think is really important is that limited testing is not about who's right. In fact, testing in general is not about who's right. So oftentimes people will make points of like arguing about something and like, you know, like putting a stick in the sand. It's not about being right. It's about finding the best information to bring you to your next event. And there's a big difference. Awesome. I'm really glad you were right. Can we move on from that now? Or like, listen, man, like you're wrong. It's okay that you're wrong. We just want to be better as a group or as an individual and prepare ourselves the best that we can. You know, you should not get hung up on things. You know, like one of the things that came out of the Pro Tour was that Slitherblade deck. One of the first things I did is I tried to draft the Slitherblade deck. I wasn't just gonna sit on say like, nope, they were wrong, they're bad. Like, no, I'm gonna actually go out and like have a conversation with some of the people that I respect and also try it myself and like figure it out. And that's the other thing that's really important is like this testing that you should be doing for events, you know, with whoever you're drafting with, make it a conversation. You know, you're going to get way more out of it. And one of our biggest weaknesses in Pro Tour Kaladesh testing is that, like, we just did a bunch of drafts, we all walked away from the table, and that was it. When what we really needed to do is, like, do a bunch of drafts, talk about what we did. I think we did a lot better for that this last Pro Tour. I felt like we really, for Pro Tour Amonkhet, like, really talked about it, kind of kept track of the decks, wrote a summary, talked about the summary. And that's what we'll be doing in the future for the Pro Tour. But I think that that's true. Like if you're going to prepare for an RPTQ, right? For a sealed RPTQ. If you're going to do like 11 sealeds with a friend, 1v1, talk about the sealed pools together. Make it a conversation. Don't make it about beating that person. That's not what's important. What's important is like, was this deck good? Was it playable? Did I build it correctly? And that's the things that are going to like bring your limited testing from just playing limited Magic to actually testing limited.
Yep. As a tangent to that, it doesn't matter who wins the match or who wins the game. You're trying to like learn about specific cards and about archetypes. And so I had a match where I played against Michael, and he had an Archfiend, and he drew it all 3 games, and he won like a really close match. And I was like, okay, yeah, like you won, but I'm pretty sure my deck is a lot better than yours, and like you just drew your Bomb Rare all 3 games. And he's like, oh yeah, that helps. And so like being able to recognize what's going on in like a bigger sense, and not just, oh look, I won my game, my deck is great. So
yeah, like it's so not important. Like you should track what decks are winning, right?
Yeah.
What archetypes are winning, but it's important to like have the conversation, and it's not important who's winning.
Yes. Yeah. Not at all. So I definitely agree with all that. Like being limited in general, I think that comes up so much more than in constructed for me, because it's so hard to meet every scenario in draft. you have to use almost every card in the set pretty often, and there's just so many different situations that you can't confront every possible one. And so
Right.
you have to lean on these ideas and these conversations instead of, oh, in general, I use this spell at this time, or I want to save this spell for this creature. Like you can't have these really specific guidelines because there's just too many situations. So you have to have large idea conversations in order to be ready for a tournament like this.
Yep. Yeah, I think that kind of to wrap up, we'll kind of touch a little bit more on what Danny was saying earlier too, which is like, where can you get information, right? If you don't have a ton of time for effective limited testing, like what do you do? I would say that limited resources is great. I would say most of the writers who write about limited on Channel Fireball are great. There's tons and tons of limited testing videos out there, like limited draft videos. And there are streamers, and like limited is one that has so much good content. One of the things that limited has going for it that constructed really doesn't, in my opinion, is the amount of amazing content. Now, most of it's draft content, which is why we talk about sealed so much on this podcast, because we think there's a real void there. But like, you will get a lot of information that way.
You can literally watch drafts 24/7 for I'm pretty confident, right? Between streamers, videos, like Newmont alone is like a third of every day he's drafting. So like there's like
and Humph.
Yeah, Paul, he'll draft like, at least when the format's new, he'll draft for like a full week and a half, 2 weeks. Like there's so much drafting content that you can really, really learn a lot. If you have
Frank Karsten will do the pick order articles. There are just tons of ways for you to go out and grab that information that you're looking for. I don't think that it replaces playtesting, so please don't think that like if you're listening to this podcast that like you don't have to go out and prepare for that limited event. It can be a stepping stone in the right direction, but you still have to put in some amount of work. Obviously, maybe you're not in a position to do 10 drafts, but are you in a position to do 5? Maybe you can't build like that 24 packs is like maybe a couple hours with your friends, right? You get to build 4 sealed pools and just play round robin between the two of you. It can happen pretty quickly.
Yep. And then you can also, I'll like go to a tournament and win packs, and I like save them to try to do the same thing, like do sealed pools with the packs that I've won. So you can make it work. If money's an issue, like reading articles is great. You can practice sealed pools on Cockatrice. Practicing sealed pools is completely free. That's nice. And that's like honestly one of the better things that you can be doing with your time is just practicing sealed pools and talking about it is also great. And then just getting as many games in as you can will help you go a long way, for sure.
Yep, absolutely. So that's going to be it for this week on the Training Grounds. Obviously a lot of it comes down to like play magic, but also like effective playtesting isn't about who's winning. It's about what's winning and why it's winning. Mm-hmm. And those are just the things that you have to kind of remember, especially in limited where like your margins are razor thin.
Oh yeah.
So
many games are decided just by mana flood and mana screw in limited that you really
yeah. So how would you build it this week? Just because we don't really have time. I'm leaving for Vegas in like not that long. Danny's going to be leaving for Vegas in not that long. But yeah, every week on the show, we're going to go over Sealed Pool and talk about how we would build it. We're going to post that in the Facebook group and on the website so that you too can take a look at it and build along with us. Don't forget to check out our sponsors at the Mana Base and Game Grid. They are both great places, one for Magic content, one just to play Magic. And don't forget that you can support us on Patreon. Go to patreon.com/ccmtg. Become a patron of this show, Constructive Criticism. If every listener just donated $1 more per month, it would really change our lives. So, anything is appreciated. And honestly, we just are so grateful for everybody that we have right now. So, Danny, where can people find you?
I'm on Twitter at DJ Cathro. And then I also on the Facebook page, or if you message me on Facebook, always available to chat with people. So. sure.
Yeah. You can find me at Spencer Stephen Howland on Facebook. You can find me on Twitter at Spencer13H. You can find the podcast every week on constructorcriticism.com, here live on twitch.tv/ccmtg. You can also check it out on YouTube afterwards. And you can also find us on MTGcast and the Manabase. You can join the conversation by going to the Constructive Criticism family, where there are other people trying to improve at Magic and get better at it along with you. You can also tweet with hashtag What's the Pick and show us one of your first 3 picks, and we will tell you what we would pick along with that. There are no hashtag What's the Pick this week, but if you tweet it, we'll read it. So if you have a sweet one that you have on Moto, or you have a pack sitting in front of you at a store, let us know. Take a picture of it. We'd love to see it, and we'd be happy to talk about it. So thank you, everybody, for watching and listening this week, and we hope to see you guys in Vegas.
See ya.